Good morning, Michael. Hello, Josh. Even though I guess it's afternoon here, it's almost, well, 1 o'clock, I guess. I'm great. It's what, Tuesday? Tuesday, so can't complain. Weather could be better because there's ice and snow coming, but not the worst. Hello, Heather.
Was the snow?
We're getting snow and ice.
Oh, I don't like the weather anymore.
Friday. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, obviously that all could shift, but yeah. Hello. Josh, it looks like 3 to 6 inches, but I think the biggest thing is all the ice that's coming. So up where you are, you may be getting more.
Now I gotta look at the weather. Dang.
Oh yeah, happy 1 year, Heather. That's exciting.
Thank you. I know it's been weird. It's already a year. It feels like went by fast, but at the same time, I feel like I've been here for like 4 years.
I'm when my 2 year hit, now I'm at 2.5 almost.
That's crazy.
It's wild. Hi, Dean.
Hello. I'm trying to get this lighting going.
I know mine's not
It's in the dark.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Maybe I should turn on a light.
Mine's either super bright or super dark.
I don't turn on this light, and I should probably start turning on this light because I have the reflection. Josh said, that's why I lifted my Subaru. Yeah, I'm just not gonna leave my house after I cover my driveway and sidewalk.
A lifted Subaru. I've never heard of that. That's funny.
Hold on. There we go. I like to see who's all on here. What's going on? People people are coming on now, right?
Yeah, I always give it a few minutes.
Yeah, I was trying to find the post from yesterday also.
I'm just looking over the questions you added, Carly.
Yep, those are mostly from Dean's post. I kind of
okay.
some of them, yeah. What was I gonna say? Dean, your camera looks very clear.
Does it?
Yeah, it looks way more clear than normal for some reason.
I think it's because of the lighting, because normally I turned off 2 lights that I normally have on and turned on a different light.
Are you in your garage? Like, where are you at?
No, I'm in the room, but I just no.
I know you had
I just set up my props.
Big back.
Yeah, I set this up and then take it down, and then actually I'll, like everything else I do, I'll sometimes take it down and then it sits here for like a week and Tracy starts yelling at me, and then I'm usually like, well, I have another webinar tomorrow, so I'll just leave it up now. Not up, but I just leave it in the bedroom. So I gotta but I've been trying to actually put it away. So these questions are from, I can't even find my post from yesterday, Carly. Is that, so these are, you took them from that post basically?
Yeah, I took them from the post. I just kind of reworded some, so they were a little bit more fluid.
Yeah, I found it actually anyways. Okay.
So to go with that, or if any other ones, I mean, you may cover these, but you guys can cover what you want to cover, and then we can go in the questions, and I'll keep on the look for like anything that you haven't gone over. If you guys want to ask questions, just pop it in the Q&A down below. You'll be able to put your cursor over your screen and you should be able to see it, so you can ask questions and we'll read through them and get to as many as we can. But with that being said, we'll get started here. These are always emailed out. I will post these. All of the other webinars from last week have been emailed. There is another post on the Facebook group of all of the webinars from last week. So go check that out, but welcome. And today we have the pro and the bro once again, and they're going to go over the Axe and Sledge pre-workouts. So they, Heather has a great list created of topics. So her and Dean are just going to go back and forth, cover that, cover any questions you have. And with that being said, Heather, if you want to take it away, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to open up just by talking about like what are pre-workouts. Obviously, something that's designed to take before your workout to enhance your performance, whether that be enhance your energy levels with caffeine, enhance your endurance with something like beta alanine, enhance your focus, enhance your pumps, whatever it may be. It's supposed to help, increase your workout performance. So a lot of times, I mean, this becomes a very like ritual for people because they like taking their pre-workout and going to the gym, and that's just like something they do. It's part of their day. Not to say that you need pre-workouts to work out. Of course you don't, and you shouldn't have to always have one in order to train. So if you're relying on pre-workouts, that's definitely an issue that you should address, especially when it comes to caffeine tolerance and habituation. The more caffeine you take in, the more your body gets used to it and the less you feel it. Dean knows all about that because he drinks way too much caffeine. But
yeah, I'm I'm trying to cut down a little bit on the caffeine.
So when you think of pre-workouts, the reason I want to mention that too is, let's say throughout your day, you're like, man, I don't drink that much caffeine, but you're having 3 shots of espresso, you're having an energy drink, you're having this and that all throughout the day. By the time you get to your pre-workout, you may not even feel it because that's not even enough for you to, get something. So you definitely want to back down the caffeine in order to get the most out of your pre-workout. Especially it depends on what time you work out during the day as well. And we'll touch on that because we have 3 different pre-workouts we offer for different people, for different situations, for different scenarios and whatnot. So in general, our pre-workouts are designed to be taken before resistance training. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't take them between or before other activities, but for the most part, these are more towards the bodybuilder, the strongman, the powerlifter, or just the general person who wants to, build muscle, do some strength training. So just to note that. And then we'll talk about, like I said, stacking, how to get the most out of them in terms of timing, hydration, diet, training, and sleep. Because if you have really poor diet and you have really low sleep, you're not going to be able to feel the pre-workouts. Because I mean, Carly knows we get those questions all the time or get those responses like, oh, I'm taking 7th gear and I just don't feel it.
Right.
It's like, well, it's got a lot of caffeine, so I hope you feel it in some way. So we'll definitely touch on that. Everyone's a little different too. So that's another thing is that can play into how you feel. And hydration. If you aren't well hydrated, you're not going to be able to feel the pre-workout. That's just all these ingredients all these products work better with more water. So at the end of the day, you need to be hydrated. So before you guys start looking into supplements, as we mentioned last week in the beginning, you need to have your diet, training, sleep, hydration in check before these supplements really even can do anything for you. So we're gonna get started with hydraulic, and Dean can take it away. Just explain what hydraulic is and whatnot.
Yeah, hydraulic is our non-stim pump pre-workout. So well, we're going to get into all of them, obviously, but basically hydraulic is a perfect, it's not, I want to first say it's not just a pump pre-workout, which I'm sure Heather will dive in a little bit more into the ingredients and explain that why, because sometimes when people think like, oh, it's a pump pre-workout, they just think it's just pump. Hydraulic, and we've even had third-party, outside people that have taken our stuff that do a lot of reviews, and they've even talked about it just being such a well-rounded pre-workout because of the ingredients in it, that it's not really just like a pump pre-workout, because it still has some stuff in there for focus. It still has some ingredients in there that, even though it's non-stim, it still does give you some energy, gets you amped up a little bit, makes you have a great workout. And then the main ingredients in there, though, because it is a pump, I don't want, after saying it's not just a pump pre-workout, I don't want to call it a pump pre-workout, but because it is a non-stim, more of a pump pre-workout, it does have some ingredients in there that really are for blood flow. And that's what we want. That's what gives you the big pumps, really filling the muscles up with the blood, transferring nutrients, and so you can get a bigger pump. That's really what a lot of people are looking for in the gym when you go to work out, is pumping whatever muscle, if it's chest, shoulders, arms, legs, whatever. You're trying to basically gorge those muscles full of blood, and that's the big juicy pump everybody's always looking for. The other key thing with hydraulic, because it is non-stim, it's a perfect pre-workout to take at nighttime. We know a lot of people work out at night, whether it's just because that's when they work out, or a lot of people work a job and then they can't get to the gym till 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Sometimes I see people working on it at 10 o'clock at night, and you're obviously not going to want to take 7th gear or ignition switch at 9 o'clock at night or whatever, full of caffeine and other stimulants, and then not be able to get to bed that night. So hydraulic is the perfect pre-workout for that as well. You should have no issues, taking that for a late night workout and then getting to sleep that night as well. So is there anything else I kind of missed on that?
No, I just want to reiterate what you said. Like you said, it's a pump focused pre-workout, of course, but like unlike other brands, and this really carries over to price point and what you're looking to get out of it. I like to say that hydraulic is everything you need minus the caffeine, because we put other ingredients in here like the beta alanine that helps with endurance, like the focus ingredients, the tyrosine, the nitrosogene, certain things like that, the Agma Max. Those things help increase your like power, strength, focus. So like if you looked at it from like a tier perspective, pump is like our number one focus with hydraulic, but closely behind that is performance, and then you go focus. So you're going to get all those three benefits out of it, and even some energy increase, because we do have some B vitamins in there which help convert food to energy. So you won't feel energy like you feel with caffeine, but it will be that more in the workout. You'll feel a little bit better in terms of like the training, and everyone knows this when they take it. It's like, it's kind of crazy to think, because some pre-workouts that are non-stim, you're like, well, I don't feel it. This is actually like a pre-workout that you'll feel because of those other ingredients we add in there and the way they all work together. So like Dean mentioned, I mean, this is a great pre-workout to really take any time, but especially for those evening workouts, the people that work 9 to 5 and then they got to go train at 6 or 7. I mean, I would rather have you not take a pre-workout and work out and then go to bed, but then take something that has caffeine and disrupt your sleep. So this is a great alternative, and it's something good to have on hand at all times so you can get the benefits out of it. So suggested use wise, there is a 1 scoop and a 2 scoop serving. For someone who's smaller like myself, I mean, you could take 1 scoop, 1.5, and see how it feels. I always recommend, if you're a new user to supplements, to start with the lowest dose and see how it feels, because if you get great performance and pumps off 1 scoop, then why go up to 2? I mean, because then you're going to get more servings. So if you did 1 scoop, it'd be 40 servings. You did 2, it's 20, but you can even do 1.5. I mean, it's not like you can mess with the dose to see how you feel, but the biggest thing is mix it with 8 to 10 ounces of water and drink it 20 to 30 minutes before you train. You can't just expect to chug down a pre-workout and go to the gym and have it feel it right away. That just doesn't work. It's got to get in your system. It's got to get to your muscles to do its effects. And it takes a little while for the digestion. So that's one thing I want to mention. Stacking wise, you can stack it with Demo Day, Ignition Switch, 7th Gear, or even Actual Intelligence. So obviously those are, I mean, Demo Day is non-stim. So I always call it the only pump stack. If you want to do like Demo Day and hydraulic, then that's only pumps. It's no, stim. So you can take that at nighttime. But if you do have a morning workout or some early afternoon, you could, do Ignition Switch or 7th Gear or even AI to get a little bit extra boost in energy from the other ingredients they have to offer. A very popular stack, I think Dean loves the stack, is Ignition Switch and hydraulic. I mean, a 1-to-1 or even a 1.5 to 1 is great for that. And we even sell it on our site, I believe. There's one that Seth Barosi's 1-1-1 stack, which is Demo Day, Ignition Switch, and hydraulic. So Dean, do you want to touch on anything with stacking?
Yeah, that's kind of what I do pretty much. And I like I said, we were joking about all the caffeine I take. I've kind of backed off no matter what time I work out. So I've been kind of doing like 1 scoop of Ignition Switch, and then I'll do, like you said, just depends on the day or what I'm doing. I might do 1 scoop of hydraulic or even up to 2 scoops of hydraulic. And then I usually mix in some Demo Day. But yeah, it's, I will say too, and you guys would know, Heather, you know more than I, but I know it has been, just for people listening that might not know, it's always been, and still, I think, is our number 1 selling product. Is that correct?
Yeah, no,
Right.
it is.
So,
yep, for sure.
yeah. So hydraulic, out of all the products for people that are somewhat new to Axe and Sledge, out of all the products we have on that website, hydraulic is the number 1 selling product. So it tells you how popular it is with people and how much, people love it. But it is just a great pre-workout, like I said, and you touched on it as well. And some of the people I'm talking about that have nothing to do with our company, and they just do a lot of reviews, and that's what they've said themselves. Just an all-around great pre-workout. If you don't want the stims, some people are sensitive to stimulants in general, so feel comfortable in knowing that you can take hydraulic and not have any issues with that type of stuff. And then, like Heather said, the best thing, we'll get into Demo Day as well, I think, at some point, but Demo Day is really no stims in it. And so it's a carb powder, which help, shuttle, same thing, glycogen, nutrients into the muscle. So that gives you a pump as well. So when you mix hydraulic and Demo Day together, it's an unbelievable workout and pump. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I had to add.
Yeah. And then the last thing before we move on to Ignition Switch, And hydraulic is the only product we have that's Informed Sport certified under the pre-workout category. Of course, most people know the grind is also Informed Sport. I don't necessarily consider the grind a pre-workout at all. Not to say you can't take a pre-workout, but it's just not a pre-workout in itself. And that's why something like Demo Day, that's not in our pre-workout category, although you can use it pre-training, of course. So just to mention that as Informed Sport certified, which just means it's third-party tested to make sure it does not have any banned substances. I do want to note though, all of our products are third-party tested to ensure that they have what they say they contain. So that's just like two different processes. It's an extra step for hydraulic and the grind, whereas all of our products undergo third-party testing. It's a pretty big buzzword in the industry. And that just ensures the quality of our products so that when you take a scoop of hydraulic and you expect to get 5 grams of citrulline, you're getting 5 grams of citrulline. So that's something that's major because some companies have been, scrutinized for not having what they say they contain. So that's a big thing for me. And I think our entire company is that the quality of our products has got to be top tier. And that's why they work. This is a pre-workout you're going to feel every single time because it doesn't have caffeine. So you're not going to get habituated to the caffeine. It's always going to hit the same. So yeah, the flavors, just wanted to touch on those. We have 2 authentic icy flavor collaborations. We have icy cherry and icy blue raspberry. Those do have artificial colors, whereas all the other flavors we carry do not have artificial colors. So some people are sensitive to that, but should be no issue. We have Shark Bite, which is orange mango. Scorpion Venom is mixed berry. Unicorn Blood is it's rainbow sherbet. HWMF is like a red, white, and blue popsicle. And then Deadlifts and Gummy Bears, just like a sweet gummy bear flavor. It's definitely, besides icy cherry and icy blue raspberry, I'd say Deadlifts and Gummy Bears is like one of our top selling flavors because it's just, who doesn't love gummy bears? It's like taking a handful of gummy bears and eating them. So they're all good though. Just experiment with which ones you like the most. And they all are pretty spot on. So Dean, do you have any honorable mentions on flavors? Anyone?
No, I kind of go back and forth with a lot of them. Yeah, people always ask that too, like especially on the Facebook groups or on Instagram, wherever, like what's the best flavor? And honestly, I can never answer that. Like I can tell you what my favorites are or whatever, but I always just tell everybody it's really what you're into. Find out what, because some of them do have funny names like Shark Bite, which is like Heather said, like an orange mango. Like if you like orange mango stuff, then you're probably going to like Shark Bite. So I just tell people go with what you prefer, stuff that you like the taste of, and go with that. And then, I always recommend try, all of them at some point, see which ones are your favorite, which ones you like better. So.
Okay, last point, and then we'll move on to ignition switch. Hydraulic does contain Hydromax. Hydromax is a form of glycerol. Glycerol is something that helps draw water into your muscles. Now, it draws water into your muscles, but it also likes to draw water into the powder. So let's say if it's exposed to moisture, it can cause some clumping. Now, clumping isn't really a big issue. All you gotta do is break it up and throw it in your shaker. The product works just fine. So if you do see a little bit of clumping, don't be alarmed. It's not a bad run. It's not a bad product. It's nothing. Just put it in your shaker bottle, break up the clumps, and you're good to go. So we get some questions about that, pretty frequently. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Like I said, we use one of the best manufacturers in the industry. So I know what they're doing is right. It's just, that's the nature of the product. If you've ever tried any other pre-workout with glycerol, it's probably what it's going to do. So just to mention that, and then we'll move on to ignition switch. So Dean, do you want to explain what that one is?
Yeah, ignition switch, I would say that is I kind of mentioned hydraulic as being like an all-around good pre-workout with non-stim. I would say ignition switch is like the all-around perfect pre-workout because it does have some stimulants in it, some caffeine in it. But as we're going to get into here, and we've said on other webinars, we have 3 types of pre-workout, right? So we have we have hydraulic, which we just went over, that has no stims. We have ignition switch, that's kind of like a moderate stim, which most people like. And then we have 7th gear, which we'll get into next, which is our high stim, kind of for the stim caffeine junkies. So ignition switch is kind of like to me, the all-around perfect pre-workout because it is moderate stim. It also comes in a 1 scoop or 2 scoop dosing as well on the label. So again, just depends on what you want to take. But it has some pump ingredients in it, focus ingredients, again, like the caffeine in it. So that's what I mean when I say it's an all-around good, like just perfect pre-workout, because you're getting a little bit of everything that you need. And it stacks great with hydraulic. When we, not me, but when the guys develop these ignition switch and hydraulic, they kind of develop them together or to go together for like that perfect stack. I know a lot of people ask, what can you stack with stuff, which we're covering as well on this, but those to me, and Heather already said, that's kind of like my go-to ignition switch with hydraulic. Do you want to get into some of the ingredients in there and break them down?
Yeah, so you'll see some similarities between hydraulic and ignition switch, and that's because, like Dean mentioned, they're meant to go together. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to. So some companies literally design pre-workouts like you literally have to buy the other one. So that's not what we do. All of our products are great as standalones, but if you want to enhance their effects a little more, then stacking hydraulic with ignition switch is a great, idea, or even demo day. So some of the key ingredients: carnosine, beta-alanine. You'll notice with our product, we have a lot of patented trademark ingredients, and that's just because they've been studied and more rigorously tested to be effective. So that's what we try to go with. Carnosine, beta-alanine gives you that extra, it gives you the tingle feeling. If it's not like you're having an allergic reaction, it's just, you might feel tingling in your hands and face, especially when you do hydraulic and ignition switch together. But that also gives you increased endurance. So if you can withstand a little bit of tingles, you can get through that. It only lasts about, 20 minutes maybe. Then you can get the benefits of that ingredient. Agvamax, which is helps increase focus and also promote nitric oxide, helps with blood flow. So those two are both in hydraulic and ignition switch. And then in terms of the stim side, we have teacrine, Infinergy, and caffeine anhydrous. So those three ingredients help increase your energy levels. So that's the key difference between the hydraulic and ignition switch, is those three, like caffeine stimulatory compounds. So those all help. And the reason we use Infinergy plus the caffeine anhydrous helps with extended release. So you guys don't get the big up and, increase in energy and then a crash like within an hour. So that kind of extends your energy levels. This is why you do not want to take that before bed, because you're going to be up for a long time. It's not just like you work out and then all of a sudden you're tired and you're ready to go to sleep. I mean, some people may be like that, but most are not. So same thing for suggested use on this. Take it, start with 1 scoop and, take it with 8 to 10 ounces of water and 20 to 30 minutes for each train. Give it some time to get into your system, start working. Stacking wise, as I mentioned before, demo day hydraulic are great options for that. You can just do 1 scoop of all of them. You can do a half scoop of demo day and then 1 scoop of hydraulic, 1 scoop of ignition switch. But same thing applies, mix it in, good amount of water and drink it beforehand. Flavors. So you'll see there's a lot of flavor crossover here because of they're meant to go together, right? So we got the icy cherry, icy blue raspberry, also an ignition switch. We have shark bite, which, as I mentioned, is orange mango. Scorpion venom is mixed berry. Unicorn blood is rainbow sherbet, and then watermelon lemonade, which is kind of like the dark horse. Like that's the one that doesn't really, I mean, it goes good with probably other flavors, but we don't have those across other products. It's just kind of its own flavor. So I don't know if there's anything else to touch on with ignition switch. I think that's the key components there. Like Dean mentioned, it's our overall like well-rounded pre-workout. Like if you're like, hey, I train in the morning, I train early afternoon, I could definitely use some caffeine. What's the one pre-workout from your line I should try? It'd be ignition switch. But it's nice to have ignition switch and hydraulic both on hand in case the times you do train vary throughout the week. So if you're training at night one time, then you have hydraulic. Training in the morning, you have ignition switch, whatever it is. So that's just, I just want to touch on that. So Dean, do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. I will say, like, and you've touched on it on all of these, is the importance of drinking water and fluid, like especially with hydraulic. So Heather's said it already a couple times on this call. I can't express enough. Like we know kind of like you see people on social media doing the dry scooping thing a lot. You definitely do not want to do that, especially with something like hydraulic, or especially like the pre-workouts that have more pump ingredients. They actually work better with fluid and with water. So I just want to like hit on that. I know you've already touched on it a couple times, but just kind of drive that point home to people that make sure you are hydrated. The more hydrated you are with any pre-workout, really, it's going to perform better, help you perform better, and so on, and work better. You will definitely feel the effects of it more, with some water.
Okay, so the next one is 7th gear, or high stim. Before we dive into this one, I just want to mention that when we first launched 7th gear, it was a 30 serving tub. So 1 scoop was 10 grams. Okay, so that's why, a lot of people measure out their pre-workouts. We switched to a 60 serving tub because certain countries, certain platforms, they have a caffeine tolerance, right? Or like a stimulant limit. So in the original formula of 7th gear, we had over 500 milligrams of stimulants in it, which is a lot. So we always recommended doing half a scoop to start, not doing the full scoop. Now what we did is we cut the scoop size in half. So now every scoop is 5 grams instead of 10. So if you're a regular user of 7th Gear, or you're really looking for that high stim, on the 60 serving tub, you do 2 scoops to get what we intended for it to feel like. But most people would do fine on 1 scoop. And as I mentioned before, start with that 1 scoop. If that's fine, then that's great. You're getting more servings out of the product. So just want to mention that, because a lot of people will look at 7th Gear ignition switch and say, well, I mean, caffeine wise, they're not that different, but they are different if you do the 2 scoops. So just to keep that in mind. The only reason we changed it, we didn't change the formula. We just changed the serving size because of certain platforms, having stimulant limits, and us being able to sell to different, platforms. So just want to touch on that. And then Dean can dive into 7th Gear, because this is a product I definitely don't take. I don't need that much caffeine, but Dean has taken it once in a while, so he kind of knows.
Yeah. So 7th Gear, like I like to say, is kind of for the high stim people, the stimulant junkies, whatever, caffeine junkies, whatever you want to call them. And there's a lot of them out there. That's why we have one, of course. The high stim pre-workouts are very popular still with a lot of people. But with 7th Gear, this is really going to be a pre-workout that I would say is more for like performance. It's going to give you laser focus, and then that obviously the high energy with the higher stimulants. Most people, I think that I would say average people, average lifters would be fine with ignition switch. But again, if you want that energy, or like if you do work out early in the morning and you're always dragging ass, then maybe 7th Gear is for you if you've tried another pre-workout or something like that. But for me, like I explain to people too, because this is how I use it personally. Majority of the time, like I said, I've used ignition switch, hydraulic, but like I'll use 7th Gear sometimes on like a leg day, maybe a big back day where I want to just lift heavier and stuff like that. So I say it's great for people that are like powerlifting or going for like PRs, or like a deadlift day, a big squat day, like something like that. It's perfect to have on hand. Like Heather said, if it's something you don't want to take every day, but sometimes you want to have those type of days or those type of lifts, it's a perfect pre-workout for that, because it is a higher caffeine, higher energy, laser focus type pre-workout. You're probably not going to get, the same type of pumps out of, if you just took 7th Gear by itself as a standalone pre-workout, you're not going to feel the pumps that you would obviously with like hydraulic or ignition switch, because it's not really made for that. It's made for, just high energy. You can stack it, which a lot of people do. They stack it with hydraulic because they still want the pump ingredients, but then they want that crazy energy. So you'll see a lot of people, especially in our Facebook group, stacking hydraulic with 7th Gear as well. It also, obviously, I know Heather's talking about stacking. You can stack this with Demo Day also. Do you want to go over some of the key ingredients with it?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to mention, like I said, now that it's a 60 serving tub, it might feel pretty good for most people if they do 1 scoop of 7th Gear and then hydraulic as well. If you're looking for that pump and energy combo, because 7th Gear literally has no pump ingredients. Like, it doesn't have citrulline, it doesn't have Max, doesn't have nitrosogene. It's not hydraulic. Okay, so it's like Dean mentioned, it's a performance focused high energy product. So that's what we were going for. That's why it's different. Not to say you can't stack it with other things. But that's like I said, it'll feel a little different than ignition switch. So if you try ignition switch and you're like, man, I want a little more focus, you can have 7th Gear on hand, just do 1 scoop. But as Dean mentioned, for the days that you're really, dragging ass, or you're like, I want to kick it up, you can do 2 scoops of 7th Gear, but don't do that every single day. That's not what it's designed for. You can just, sorry, someone's calling me. You can just do it, every once in a while for those like big days where you're like, man, I'm lifting heavy, going for a PR. That's when save it for that. Don't, try to, because as we mentioned in the very beginning, you're going to eventually stop feeling it. And then where do you go from there? Add another scoop. I mean, that's not really what we recommend to do. So the key ingredients in here, we have creatine magna power for that power strength element. We have bioperine, which is black pepper extract, helps with absorption. But we also have dynamine, teacrine, and caffeine. So that's kind of like the triple threat of energy. Those 3 compounds are all stimulatory compounds. So those are going to quickly raise your energy levels. We do have some other stuff in there like beta-alanine, betaine. Those are more endurance, endurance and like focus and power type ingredients. We also have alpha GPC and choline bitartrate. So that's the focus element of this product. So like I said, if ignition switch, you're looking for a little bit more focus, try 1 scoop of 7th Gear plus hydraulic, and then that's kind of like your stack. And flavors on this one. So the reason we didn't, you'll see that ignition switch and 7th Gear do not have the same flavors at all, because we'll never recommend stacking those 2 together. You can stack 7th Gear or ignition switch with hydraulic, but that's it. Don't stack, those 2, or don't stack I think some people have asked me like, oh, can I stack 7th gear with fired? It's like, no, don't do that. Any products that have stimulants, don't stack them together. So flavors on this one, we have HWMF, which is also in hydraulic. That's the red, white, blue, like popsicle kind of flavor. We have raspberry lemonade. We have your mom's sweet peach, your mom's lemonade, pineapple express, which is actually pineapple mango, and then Delis and gummy bears. So you'll see that, they have a little crossover with hydraulic, but none of the flavors we offer for 7th gear do we offer for ignition switch, and that's for a purpose. So hopefully that clears up like the differences between them. The biggest thing is too, I just want to touch on before we move on to some kind of like honorable mentions here, is that there's a suggested serving size for a reason. Some people think, oh, well, what can I do 3 scoops of hydraulic? It's like you could, but not only is that probably going to cause digestive distress, it's also not giving you really any more benefits. We dose these products according to what the science tells us is effective, and we don't go below and we don't go above that for a reason. Because the higher dose you go, the less benefits you get, and the more, not say harm, but like you could have digestive distress. That's the biggest thing you'll probably notice. There's probably not much else. But like you don't need to do 3 scoops of hydraulic. If you're not getting a pump off 3 scoops of hydraulic, you're probably not drinking water. You're probably not eating any carbohydrates. And you're, who knows, your sleep might be messed up, but there's probably a lot of other things. So Dean, do you want to mention?
That's what I was going to add if you didn't say that, like, because we see it sometimes in like these groups or comments, like if you're taking or you're taking the recommended dose on any of these pre-workouts, and some people say like, oh, I'm not feeling anything. It's not the pre-workout, it's you. Like it just is. Like I've never,
need to be honest,
because like Heather said, it could be a number of things. I mean, it could be sleep, it could be recovery, it could be like we've talked about, liquid, fluids, water. It could be your diet. Like there's other things that are off. And then if you're such a caffeine junkie that you're taking 2 scoops of 7th gear and you're not feeling anything, then your caffeine tolerance is just too high. You need a break, because you definitely shouldn't need more than 400 or 500 milligrams of caffeine to go work out. So before you say like, oh, I'm not feeling anything from this, reassess everything else that you're doing, especially liquid. A lot of times that's number one. Just reassess that before you think maybe the product. And I'm not even saying our products, that's any product or any pre-workout. If you are not feeling it, it's not usually the product. A lot of times it's what's going on with your nutrition, diet, everything else. So
yeah, no, that's very well said. So I just want to reiterate that, because we do get questions on, well, what if I take 3 scoops of hydraulic, so I can be even better? It's like, no, that's really not how it works. So moving on to other products that you can add into your pre-workout stack if you want to, if you need to. Demo day is one of my favorites. I don't normally actually take it pre, unless I train early in the morning and I don't get any food. But I take that intra. But a lot of people do stack it pre-workout. They do half a scoop pre-workout and then they do half a scoop intra. That's a great way to kind of break it up and to add. So the biggest thing about demo day, it's easy on your digestive system, doesn't spike your insulin levels, gives you, good clean energy throughout your workout. And carbohydrates are your body's #1 fuel source. So to have those around training is crucial for best performance, best recovery, best pumps, stuff like that. So I can't stress enough how important carbohydrates are, whether you get them from demo day or not. That's up to you. But they are important around training for those reasons. Dean, do you want to mention anything on demo day?
Yeah, they're like, I actually know people that are, I even know retired pro bodybuilders even that are very low carb now, and they'll take a carb powder around when they work out. So they may stay very low carb food wise throughout the day, but I'm just touching on you talking about the importance of having carbs around your workout. And they'll take in their carbs right around workout, whether it's from like a carb powder or not. So definitely carbs can be your best friend sometimes. Like I think the media and everything else now has made like people fear carbs, and carbs make you fat and whatever. Carbs don't make you fat. It's like everything else that you're putting in your mouth that's making you fat. It's being in a calorie surplus and so on, which I'm not going to get into, but we talked about it on the pre-workout breakdown before. Demo day is a carb source. It's just like eating carbs. So a lot with the question we get a lot where people say, can I take demo day if I'm trying to get lean or trying to lose weight? You absolutely can, as long as you count the carbs and count the calories. I don't know if you just said on this one or not, but 1 scoop of Demo Day is about 25 grams of carbs, which is about 100 calories. So again, if you are taking even a half scoop, just make sure you count the carbs and the calories in your daily macro totals. That way you know what you're consuming in that. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's a great product. We said it on the last webinar. I think it's one of our most underrated products there are. I think it used to be. I think now more and more people are using Demo Day, and people once they use it, they're like, holy crap, I can't believe I haven't been using this before. Because it is like I talked about earlier, especially when you stack it with like hydraulic, the pumps that you get are crazy. You have more endurance. You definitely feel it throughout your workout. Me personally, I usually put a half scoop in my pre-workout, and then sometimes that's it. And then other times I may do a half scoop during my workout, as I'm working out. So everybody just kind of uses it differently, and you can experiment with it, find out what works best for you. But that's all I got.
Yeah, and we'll touch more on Demo Day next week when we cover like intra workouts or whenever we cover that section, just because Demo Day is unique. It's just like, as Dean mentioned, it's a carbohydrate source, but it is different than a lot of carbohydrate powders on the market. So if you're wondering why should we choose, yours instead of some other brands, there are some key things I want to touch on with that. Mainly our sources that we use and stuff like that is big. So that's why it feels different than other carbohydrate powders. So the last thing is our basics line. So our basics line are like unflavored products that you can add into your stack. A lot of these are meant to be taken daily to get the best benefits, and that's why we separate them out. So some of these ingredients, such as, so on our basics line, we have arginine, pico-2, citrulline, beta-alanine, betaine. Those are like the 5 I would say that could be used as a pre-workout. Now, with that said, if you're taking 2 scoops of hydraulic, as we mentioned before, 2 scoops of hydraulic, you do not need to add on the arginine or the citrulline. It's got enough in there. You're not going to feel any more benefits from adding those. So that's really just, I don't want to say it's a waste of your money, but it's just something that, like, if you wanted to buy ignition switch and you're like, man, I want some more pumps, then you could buy standalone arginine and citrulline and add those in. Like, that's fine. But hydraulic's got enough in there, so you don't really need to add those. So pico-2 is the next one that I'm a huge fan of. I think Dean mentioned Demo Day is our most underrated. I think pico-2 is our most underrated product. From a sure standpoint, it's not in any of the products we sell, and it is great for VO2, endurance, stamina, stuff like that. The biggest thing with pico-2 though, you got to take that thing daily, and it's mushrooms, so it doesn't taste the best. Now, if you do mix it though with like a cherry icy or something like that, it's going to affect the flavor a bit, but not to the point where you probably can't drink it. So I love pico-2. If you could drink intra workout, pre-workout, and then on your off days, if you can get in the habit of taking it, you'll notice after a couple of weeks, you get, incredible benefits in terms of, like I said, endurance and stamina. And it's pretty profound. You'll start to notice in your workouts, your just work capacity is just increased. You can do more and not be as gassed, as fatigued. And it just helps you with those training adaptations. It's actually a patent ingredient. It's the only one that we have in here in the basics line. It's from Compound Solutions, and it's 6 adaptogenic mushrooms, which just means that it helps you adapt to stress. So whether that's physical, mental, emotional, and whatnot. So take pico-2 every single day, and then you'll notice the benefits. The other ingredients, beta-alanine, we have that in almost every single one of our pre-workouts. But the reason it's in our basics line, it's one of those ingredients you should take daily to get the most benefits. So a lot of people, you train 4 days a week, you only take pre-workout 4 days a week. So you're missing out on all the other days. So certain ingredients like beta-alanine, betaine, those are ingredients you need to take daily to reach that saturation point to get the benefits of them. So if you're wondering, well, these products are already in your products, why would you separate them out? It's for that purpose. And then also the arginine and citrulline is great add-ons to other pre-workouts like 7th Gear, ignition switch, if you want some more pump, but you don't want to buy a whole nother product if that's your jam. So betaine, just a great ingredient to increase strength, power, lean muscle mass. It's actually kind of like a precursor to creatine. People ask me all the time, should I take betaine and creatine if I'm taking creatine already or betaine already? It's like, yes, because they kind of synergistically work together. They do different things. Betaine is also great for cardiovascular health. So they are different, but they do kind of work together, if that makes sense. So Dean, do you want to touch on anything with the basics?
The whole reason, like Heather said, we made those just because some people like to add their own, or almost concoct their own pre-workout or add little ingredients here and there. So I think that's why we did them. Like Heather said, it depends on which one we're talking about. You definitely don't need it. For example, she used the example of if you're already taking 2 scoops of hydraulic, you obviously don't need more citrulline. So you just have to look at and see which ones you need and which ones fit with what you're doing. But yeah, I agree though. Pico 2 has become super huge, I think, in the last year to 2 years with a lot of companies. And I know it is probably a huge seller for us as well, that people love it. And once they start taking it, they can see a difference. But as Heather said, it does taste pretty terrible. So you have to mask it with something. But other than that, no, I mean, the basics, I liked, I just responded to Stephen Davis. He said that he says the basics aren't really so basic from Axe and Sledge. He says they're all necessities. So it goes to show you though, like people that are taking some of these basics and adding them to them, to their daily arsenal. A lot of people are seeing benefits from them. So it just depends on the person and what you're looking for.
And you could honestly, if you had something to flavor it, like let's say you picked up the grind, you bought arginine, citrulline, beta-alanine, betaine, and even Pico 2, and you added those all into it. That's like you could make your own pre-workout if you want to do that. Now, not everybody wants to do that, and I'm not saying it's going to taste better. It probably will not taste better than what we create in terms of our actual pre-workouts like hydraulic ignition switch. But if you do want to make your own pre-workout, Pico 2 is also great for anyone who wants to get the benefits of beta-alanine, but without those like tingles, like especially for endurance athletes or just athletes in general who aren't looking for pump, but they're looking for that performance increase. For example, like we have a fighter on our athlete roster, and he's a MMA fighter or a UFC fighter, and it's like he doesn't need, citrulline arginine to get his like forearms all pumped up while he's training, but the Pico 2 can help him in terms of that endurance stamina to last a little bit longer. So those are certain ingredients that, they're great to have, but take them daily to get the most benefits. I think that's the biggest thing. I didn't have creatine in here because in my opinion, creatine's not necessarily a pre-workout ingredient. It's one of those things you should take daily, and I like taking it post-workout. But whenever you can remember to take it is important. So just whenever that is.
No loading phase. We get that question all the time. Like,
yep, 20 grams.
You do not have to load creatine. Just take 5 grams a day and you're good. And then real quick, like you talked about beta-alanine. Beta-alanine for the most part is what gives most people that tingling feeling. And some people absolutely love it and some people don't like it. So I just want to make sure anyone on this call that doesn't know what beta-alanine is, that's what it does.
Yeah. I remember the first time I took it and I thought I was like having an allergic reaction. I was like, what's going on?
Like, I mean, Carrie, obviously for you guys that know, as one of our athletes, she takes 7th gear and she always takes beta-alanine separate on top of it because she said she loves that tingling feeling where, some people do and some people don't. So it's all a total personal preference amongst, what it actually does. But one of the effects is that tingling feeling. So I just want to make people aware of that.
Yeah. And the last thing, just before we start answering some people's questions, we do have obviously, if your primary goal is fat loss, you could also take double time, fired, or even actual intelligence if you want that energy focus, appetite suppression, and you could stack that with hydraulic and get kind of like a fat burner pre-workout stack. That's not something I'm going to go into just because Fired and Demoday, why I keep saying that? Fired and Double Time are both fat burners, so they're more thermogenics, great for cardio, but they do, increase your energy. They can be used as a pre-workout if necessary. But if you want to get the other benefits, I would stack it with hydraulic, and please do not stack them with ignition switch or 7th gear, and don't stack them together. Like you're not going to get, I don't know. We don't want you like having other issues. So that's not the purpose. And then actual intelligence, just great for, it's an overall like study, kind of like work, productivity supplement. You can use it for gaming, studying, working, but also even workouts. I think it's a pretty cool low stim option you can stack with hydraulic to give a little more energy. So those are just some of our other products we offer, but I think that's pretty good for like all of our pre-workouts. I think we covered a lot of it. There's a question in here though. Someone asked, if I do 15 minutes warm up on the treadmill for a leg, should I take ignition switch right before my warm up or 15 minutes before I get to the gym? Sometimes I get into that routine where I do like warm up on the treadmill, and Dean, you can kind of chime in. I normally just take it before I get to the gym. And if I'm doing a 15-minute warm up, then that's good enough. But if I'm not doing a warm up, I normally drink it before I get to the gym, 15 minutes before. So just to give you that window of time.
Yeah. Like when I used to drive to the gym, that's what it was. It was like a 15-minute drive. I would make my pre-workout here and I would drink my pre-workout as I drive. And then I would obviously be done before I even get to the gym. And then like now, as most people know, I have a gym here at my house. I usually just same thing. I'll make a pre-workout as I'm doing stuff and getting ready. I'll just drink it, and I might go out there and start getting finished, or getting warmed up basically as I'm still finishing the pre-workout.
I would
But
say
yeah,
as long as it's like 15, 20 minutes before you train. So whether that means, oh, I do a 15-minute warm up. Okay, then just drink it before your 15-minute warm up. The biggest thing is too, though, if you take beta-alanine and you chug it really fast and then you're on the treadmill for 30 minutes, you might get very uncomfortable because like the tingling, I don't personally like that, but as Dean mentioned, some people do. So that's just as long as it gives you enough time to drink it and get in your system. But I think Carly, you can ask us whatever questions you have that maybe we didn't answer from.
So one, maybe just hit on again about Heather, you talked about this in the beginning about can you take like pre-workouts every day, or should you swap it with something else every day? So I don't know if that's more of like, should I be taking a condition switch every day, or should I mix in hydraulic, or should I do a day like without pre-workout? I think that's what the question may be getting at.
I would also, this is hard to answer because it depends on
Who you
are they working out every day and what is their workout? Like I would say take a pre-workout. Like I said, first of all, pre-workouts are not necessary, so you don't absolutely need them. But if you're resistance training, you could take a pre-workout every time you resistance train. So that might be ideally like 4 or 5, even up to 6 times per week. 6 times is a little excessive, but 4 to 5 times a week, even 3 times. If you're resistance training, now if you're doing cardio, I like just taking the grind for that or something like that. I mean, if your goal is fat loss, you could take fire to double time. But I wouldn't. The only ones I wouldn't take every single day is probably 7th gear and maybe even ignition switch just because of that stimulant tolerance. But something like hydraulic, you could take every day. That would be fine. I just don't think there's many people out there that train every day, and you don't need to take hydraulic before cardio. But Dean, you can pitch in anything you have.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give you my experience. Like I kind of, because especially lately, I've been working on it just all different times. So I agree with you. Like I think you could take hydraulic every day if you want. I probably would not, just like you said, take 7th gear every single day or every workout, just because of the amount of stimulants in it. Or if you are going to, and say you only have 7th gear and you don't have hydraulic, or you don't even have ignition switch, I would definitely lessen what you're taking, maybe a day or 2 a week. So you're not taking 2 scoops every single day. If you feel like you can get by with even, a half scoop or 1 scoop, a day or 2 a week, I would do that maybe, just so you're not maxing out your like adrenal glands and just taking high stims every single day. But like what I was getting to about me, it's like some days I'll take, depending on when I work out, I'll take ignition switch and hydraulic. Other days, if I'm working out, at 5 or 6 at night, I won't even take ignition switch, so I'll just take hydraulic. And then, like I said, if maybe on a back day or leg day, I might take 7th gear. So me personally, again, I have the luxury, obviously, of being with a company that have all this stuff on hand, which some people, not everybody does. But so I switch a lot myself anyways, not even, I guess, kind of on purpose. I just do. And I think that also helps keep everything fresh and keeps the effects very good with everything also. So I would just be mindful, I guess, to answer the question of what you're doing. Like Heather said, if you can get by without, taking as much, or if you can switch out, if you do have the different pre-workouts, switch them out here and there if you can.
Yeah, and that's why it's nice to have them all on hand for those different scenarios. And like Dean mentioned, some people like to switch their pre-workouts depending on what they're training. They're training legs, training back, training chest, whatever it is. Some people like to switch up what they're taking. That just goes with experience and experimentation. You just got to try different things out. So yeah, that's pretty much I think it for that question.
So a few questions have been asked that are more towards demo day. So since our demo day webinar is pretty soon, I may put those for that one. But this one was a good one. It actually comes from Josh, and he said, should I be taking Pico 2 as a runner, especially endurance running?
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the scenarios that, or one of the type of activities I would highly recommend Pico 2 over beta-alanine in that sense, because beta-alanine for runners definitely bothers them. Most runners, I'm not gonna say for everybody. And you definitely don't really need high doses of citrulline or arginine. So taking Pico 2 on its own would be great. Even betaine as well. Betaine, creatine, and Pico 2 would be like the 3 top, and then the grind for like endurance athletes. Demo day would be great just if you're going on a very long run, you need some extra fuel to sip on. But Pico 2 is awesome just for that endurance stamina. You can look it up. I mean, Compound Solutions has tons of info. We have a blog on our site as well in terms of what it can do for you in terms of increasing your VO2 max. And it just kind of helps your body take oxygen and actually utilize it, have your muscles utilize that oxygen, which is obviously key for aerobic sports. So aerobic activities, they require oxygen. So yeah, it can be used in the gym, or, you know, whether you're, you know, you like to go biking or running or swimming, whatever it is.
What about Carly? Do you have the one somebody asked about, and I wanted to get Heather's take on this because she's, you know, like the ingredient king or queen here. Like somebody asked, you know, I train at night after the kids go to sleep. Is there anything else I can take other than hydraulic for like a pre-workout? I mean, what would be your suggestion? I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what they're doing is my,
Yeah.
I kind of want to know a little bit more what they're doing training wise. Are they doing straight weights or whatever? I mean, I don't know that you would need much more than hydraulic really. If they're lagging energy, I mean, then it's like you kind of walk that fine line of like, you don't want to take something like a stimulant, obviously, if it's late at night.
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, the biggest thing I would ask is what are they training? Because a lot of people say I work out. Well, what does that mean? Like, does that mean you go to the gym, lift weights? Does that mean you go for a run? Does that mean you know, go do a group class or whatever? So that's the questions I would ask. So it's really hard for me to answer. If you are just weight training, hydraulic's really all you need. I mean, there's not much. I mean, you could stack on some butane and Pico 2 into that mixture and maybe even some demo day. But other than that, I mean, hydraulic's going to give you everything you need. And if you did want a little bit of stims, if you're like, man, I just need a little bit, you could try AI. That's the only other thing that I could throw in there, but I would probably only do like one capsule, maybe the full dose, but it's only like 100 milligrams of caffeine, whereas all of our other pre-workouts are, you know, 200 plus. So
yeah, demo days, I forgot, I didn't even think of that, but that's again, if they can fit the carbs in there, even if they just took a half scoop with hydraulic, it'd probably be helpful.
And here's the thing too, like going off demo day, a lot of people don't realize if you're fueled properly, and I know it's hard, especially when you're trying to lose weight, if you have enough carbs and energy from food, you don't need a lot of caffeine. Caffeine is kind of like that thing that carries you throughout the day. When you don't get enough sleep, when you're under fueled, you're under, you know, you have like no nutrients and stuff like that. Like caffeine will help you. It's kind of like a Band-Aid, but you shouldn't necessarily rely on that. You should look at your diet and sleep and get that in check so that you do feel a lot more energetic just normally. I think people realize like, oh, I just take my caffeine, I'm good to go. It's like, no, you're actually underfeeding your body. Maybe you're overtraining. And so your energy levels are just, you know, dead. So
and water and water in general. Like I know people that went from like drinking no water, you know, maybe they're drinking like sodas and stuff all the time or whatever. But when they make that switch to, you know, and all of a sudden they start drinking like a gallon of water a day, like people can't realize like how much better they feel, how much more energy they have, like their skin feels better, like everything just from like literally just drinking more water alone can do wonders. So yeah, that's something I need to work on myself some days.
No, water definitely makes a big difference. Not only the way you feel, but your energy levels, your, you know, digestion, your mood. I mean, all of that stuff. It definitely is key. So try to increase your water intake. You don't have to like go crazy and do 2 gallons a day, but try to be conscious about it and be drinking water all day. So, but yeah, is there any other questions?
Ones that I think can just be covered next time that are more specific to what we're covering, because you guys hit on really all the other questions that everyone had prior to this. So do either of you have anything to close with about pre-workouts here?
What about, well, there's one other about a snack, pre-workout snack with a pre-workout.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I wouldn't have, I mean, most people, I wouldn't have it with that because you don't want food digest, even if it's a snack. Me personally, I don't want food digesting while I'm working out. So that's why you see most people, if they have, they usually have like a pre-workout meal or whatever, or even if it's not, they don't consider it like a pre-workout meal. They usually eat, you know, a good hour and a half, usually before they go work out, because you have to remember, if you have food in your stomach, a lot of the blood is in your stomach trying to digest that food while you're working out. But while you're actually working out, you don't want that. You want the opposite. You want the blood being rushed and gorging the muscles full of blood that you're actually working and trying to pump up and tear apart and stuff like that. So food, that's why, like I said, you'll see people that usually like to wait a good hour and a half. So whatever they ate, whether it's a meal or a snack, is fully digested. They take the pre-workout if they're taking that. And then they also feel more of the effect of the pre-workout itself. Because if you have food in your stomach that your body's trying to digest as well and break down, it'll probably also affect the feel of a pre-workout if you're taking it as well. So can you have it? Sure. But would I recommend it? No, I guess is the answer.
That's kind of what demo day is for. So, I mean, although demo day is a carbohydrate and you treat it like any other carb, the cool thing about demo day is it passes to your stomach very quickly, but then it slows down once it gets to your small intestine. So it kind of gives you that sustained energy release. But it doesn't sit in your gut like Dean mentioned. When you eat a big meal, go to the gym, you're like, man, I feel like going to sleep because all the blood and all the energy is being put towards digestion. So things like the grind, things like demo day, those things pass through your gut very easily. So your body's not like bogged down with that digestive system and trying to process all those nutrients. So if you are crunched for time, but you want some more energy, take demo day. I mean, that's like your go-to carb. And then, but as Dean mentioned, if you don't want to have a pre-workout meal, I would say no less than 45 to an hour. Have a snack, have a meal, have something that digests easy for you, like rice cakes, like, simple, even like some people do cereal, some people do cream of rice, things that are very easy digestible, banana, fruit, whatever. Then go to the gym and then, take your pre-workout and a half an hour after you had that. And then by the time you get to the gym, it's an hour, and hopefully you're not digesting that meal still. So if you do eat, just make sure it's very easily digestible things, like even a protein shake, stuff like that. So, but if you are crunched for time, demo day, that's what it's for. That's why you can drink it during training and not feel like you're going to throw up, because it doesn't sit in your stomach and just like weigh you down.
Is there more questions, Carly?
A lot of them are covering demo day. So
Okay.
as if we want to cover them now or next webinar, so it doesn't all kind of mesh together.
Yeah, we can do that next
What
time.
about, there's one for AI that, I mean, Heather knows a lot more about that than I do. Just so we can answer that. When somebody asked, should AI, actual intelligence, be taken daily? And they said they've been taking it with the greens, multi, and omega-3.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think actual intelligence is pretty cool because it has ingredients in there like lion's mane and some other compounds that help with the overall brain health. So that is something that you could take daily. But the thing is, it just depends on your caffeine intake. Like if it's your replacement for coffee, great. I mean, then you're not stacking coffee plus AI plus pre-workout plus an energy drink. So it just depends on how much caffeine you're intaking. But if that's kind of like your main thing to get you going in the morning, I think that's great. Take it every day. It's fine. It's got pure caf, which is natural caffeine source. So a little bit more tame. It doesn't give you that jittery kind of feeling that you get when you take a lot of caffeine. And it also doesn't have a lot of caffeine. So I do think that's fine. It's just timing. Don't take it too late in the day, like anything else. So, but yeah, I think that's a fine ingredient. I just, it's a little bit different of a product than it our other pre-workout options. So, but yeah.
Okay.
But do either of you have anything else?
No, I mean, as always, I say no and then I answer.
You're like, no, yes.
As always, anybody that's watches this or watches at a later date, if you guys have questions that pop up again anytime regarding any Axe and Sledge products, period, reach out to me either on Facebook or Instagram. I'm way more active on Instagram. Obviously, I'm in the Facebook groups and all that as well. But if you follow me on Instagram, always feel free to shoot me any messages you guys have regarding Axe and Sledge. And then if there's anything that's really smart answered, that go to Heather. She's way smarter.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing is like, especially stacking things, because we got a customer, I think the other day, asked us about stacking this and this with their pre-workout stack. And I was like, don't want to say that's overkill because they just spent their money on these products and you know what I mean, but it's overkill. So if you have stacking questions, especially, just reach out to us, say, hey, I'm taking this and this is my goal. This is how I'm training. Definitely include those things, be more specific. Don't be so generic because then I'll ask you 5 more questions and then you'll get annoyed. So just be specific and then we'll help you out, whether that's reaching out to me or Dean on Instagram or even customer service. If the customer service doesn't know, they relay it to me to help give them the answer. And if I don't know, I'll figure it out. So hopefully, I just don't want you guys to waste your money on like we just said, certain ingredients, you're just kind of overkill there. So like, I want you to get the most bang for your buck in terms of that.
Yeah, I'll just add to that, like, and people that do know me and follow me and same like for Heather and Carly, like you can ask, we're not a company that's like, we're just going to tell you the truth. Like we're not here to like try to sell you every product we have or anything like that. So like if we want to just help you in the long run. So, and if that's that's the way we do that, is earning your trust and telling you the right information and how to help you. And if we can save you money by telling you you don't need that, that's what we're going to do. And just get you pointed in the right direction for which products fit your needs and your goals and stuff like that. So I mean, don't ever be afraid to ask us any questions.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's
Well,
all.
Just like that. As always, Dean and Heather, thank you for taking your time. And we all will be back here next Tuesday. Everyone who joined in live, thank you so much. Tomorrow night is the weekly webinar, and that is at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be with Seth, Doug, Vincenzo, and myself. So it's going to be another great one, so don't miss out. But once again, thank you to everybody. If you're going back and listening to this, thank you. And like they said, if you have any questions, you have a lot of resources, so don't hesitate to reach out, and have a great day.
See you guys. Thank you.
Bye.